ghetto. It's giving ghetto, but it's like you're giving ghetto. You're giving ghetto. I'm giving bad bitch at all costs.
Go ahead and grab you a drink and a seat because this is going to get messy. For those who don't know who she is,
Big Flex or whatever the fuck her name is.
Big Lex is a cast member on the show Jocelyn's Cabaret Season 2. During the reunion of the show, she got into it with Jocelyn and her boyfriend Ballistic, ending on bad terms with them both. Since then, she created her own show called Big Lex Baddies Collection, where girls compete over who's the baddest in order to win 10K. It wasn't long after season 1 of her show that she started to go ahead and look for girls for season 2. Now, she didn't start looking for her season 2 girls immediately. Part of her search was going to be at an event she was having called the Baddie Olympics. So after watching her show and knowing how she was trying to put girls on and she was all for women empowerment, I decided why not give it a go and try out for the Baddie Olympics. Looking back, I don't even know why I went to that event because it was definitely a mess. And I'm here to give y'all all the unfiltered receipts as well as details on things that nobody is talking about that happened there. Now, as far as being ghetto like Big Lex claimed girls were at the event, girls were definitely trashing the place, but not everyone. I just wish Big Lex would stop acting slow, cause regardless, your event still very much gave ghetto. Big Lex mentioned that all girls, whether they were from around the world or stayed in Atlanta where the Olympics was going to be held, would have an opportunity to participate in the Olympics.
Because I'm going to do the Baddies Collection Olympics with some, you know, all the girls are going to come out. It's going to be in Atlanta on May 1st, and I'm going to get, everybody can fly out, everybody can come, everybody comes to have an opportunity. Winner gets $5K.
You weren't able to be in this competition unless you sent a video telling Big Lex why you wanted to be in the competition and why you wanted to be on her show. All girls who sent their audition videos got this email. Now, before we get into this email, keep in mind what Big Lex says right here.
I want you to show up in your bad bitch attire. Show up like that bitch, for sure. Show up like that bitch. Definitely come like a bad bitch, but bring tennis shoes, bring a change of clothes, bring what you feel comfortable running, jumping, going through obstacles in. You do not have to show up with the athletic gear on. You will need to bring it with you unless you want to show up in your athletic gear. That's cool.
So hearing this, I thought like how a lot of other girls were thinking, you know, cool, show up in some heels or a dress, or just wear your athletic gear and show up looking like a bad bitch either way, like Lex said, right? Now, based off of how low budget her show The Baddie Collection was, I could already assume that the event was going to be a little disorganized, but not as disorganized as it actually was. But then Big Lex said this.
This whole thing is really, really big. It's a 5-star production. I know y'all be like, the production, season 1, the microphone, Okay, cool. That was my first go around, baby. I'm coming bigger, better, and badder. I got a 5-star production.
So I said, cool, let me stop judging. This is probably gonna be a 5-star event, right? Also, going into this event, you'd assume because it's called the Baddie Olympics that there would be games like racing, football, soccer, boxing, or wrestling, things like that. And because everyone flew out or drove out to compete for 5K at this Olympics, I was also wondering how the winner was going to be chosen. She did say this though.
You should tell your friends and family, your homegirls, tell everybody to subscribe. Each one of you girls are going to be voted off of your fans, family, and friends. I'm not just going to be there like, oh, I pick her because I pick her. No, I'm a fair person. I'm a really fair person. I like to be fair. I feel like life should be fair.
At this point, I thought, okay, cool. The winner is going to be picked at the competition. Everyone's going to be able to vote for the winner. But, wait. She claims this way is fair, but what about the girls who don't have many followers? Who have 0 to 100? Or even 1K versus the girls who have 10 to 50K followers and subscribers. And generally, to girls with that many followers, fans, and subscribers, that could be from 1 to 4 platforms. She later justified this, saying even if you have 1 to 2 people voting for you, as long as you're in her face and getting her attention, she's basically going to see you, or whatever that means. I didn't really think much of this part when it says in the email to show up looking the part or you will be automatically asked to leave by production. I thought it seemed too cut and dry, but at the same time I understand that there could be girls that show up not looking right at all or in mismatched clothing, so I thought this was for them. But at the same time, this seemed like a very vague thing to put in the email and not really explain. Then again, this just had if you get it, you get it, if you don't, you don't written all over it. Now let's really get into why this event was such a huge fail.
This whole thing is really, really big. It's a 5-star production.
This is the location the Baddie Olympics was at. 5-star production, where? So I'm guessing because the parking lot was extremely small, not a huge big event type thing. You had to show up in a ride service, whether that were Uber or Lyft, and when you got there, as you could see in this video, you had to stand in a line in the parking lot. There were actually several lines there. When my Lyft dropped me off, I just stood in one. No one there really knew how the process was going to go from there. So remember when Big Lex said this?
You do not have to show up with the athletic gear on. You will need to bring it with you unless you want to show up in your athletic gear. That's cool.
So I didn't show up in my workout clothes. I actually showed up casual, dressy, like you could see some of the girls in the video. So I wore a jean jacket, a nice dressy tank top, bunchy pants, and a heel. From top to bottom, my outfit matched. Nothing was wrong. My toes were done. Everything was fine. And then a security guard comes up to me and points at me and says, "You're gonna have to change too." They went around saying this to multiple girls there. It wasn't just me. And guess what? The ones they were mostly saying this to were the ones wearing their workout clothes. Later in the day, I noticed they were letting girls in the building who wore things similar to me, so I asked the security guard again if he was sure I had to change, and he said, "Oh, no, you're fine." Like, okay. Even if I did have to change, I brought multiple outfits, and some girls did, but there were also a lot of girls that didn't who also needed to change. I wish I had footage, but there were a lot of girls who were getting lifts back to their hotel, going home, and also sitting on the side of the curb with their suitcases open wide, clothes all over the gravel, because they didn't have anywhere else to change. They definitely weren't gonna let girls in the building to change, and the only other place for girls to change was outside behind somebody else's random car. Another option would have been to change behind the building, but regardless, you were gonna have to change out in public. And it wasn't just a few pieces some girls had to take off. A lot of girls had to change their whole outfits. That means top, bottoms, everything included. You would have been showing your underwear to everybody. After standing in line, you had to sign a contract saying you couldn't sue any of the production, anyone working on the event, including Big Lex, and that you had to allow yourself to be seen on TV. There were a lot of other things included in the contract, like if you got something stolen while being on the property, you couldn't do anything about it. You basically had to let it be. One of the red flags about being there was that they didn't put in the email that you needed to have a COVID test in order to enter the building. So that meant no girl that stood in line had a COVID test, and you had to have a live COVID test, meaning it had to be taken and shown proof that you had no COVID within like 24 hours. So because of this, it didn't matter where you stood in line. If you didn't have a live COVID test you already took, or if you weren't going to get one, you had to leave and go home or go to the nearest drugstore to get one in order to get in the building. So I literally had to leave to go get one. I sold one to one girl. There were other girls selling them. Some guys pulled up and was selling them. It was a whole mess. So after this, a lot of girls did leave their trash, like their COVID papers, boxes, and results in the parking lot. So this is why Big Lex was getting on everyone, talking about everyone gave ghetto because they trashed the place and whatever. I also wanted to mention that on the application for the event, when you apply, you also put your phone number. There were some girls getting updates like through text. I didn't know what they were, but they were getting them. I never got a text. I only got the email, but I thought it would have been better if they texted everyone prior to the event about the COVID test results. But it seems like something They told everyone very last minute because, again, it is a very disorganized event. A lot of girls, and including myself, because we all were waiting so long, a lot of us took our heels off and put on like our sneakers and slides and sandals, but they were urging everyone to put their heels back on before they got into the building. All the girls that made it had to enter the building in pairs, so 2 girls would go in at a time or in groups. By the time you got inside, you had to wait in line to basically do this twerk competition, which was another form of elimination. So basically girls would get on stage and twerk, and then you had to get off on the other side. For those that didn't pay 20 something to watch this Olympics, this twerking contest was never in the show. It was just part of eliminations and God knows what else. It was very disappointing going through all the BS outside before getting in the building, only to get in and go through this twerking contest, only to find out that not only do we have to basically do this, but that this is only for eliminations. This was never part of the Olympics. Once you got off stage, you were either told you were disqualified and that you had to leave the premises immediately, or you were given a blue ticket and told to go to the back room. Also, because this is Big Lex's event, I thought she would be hosting. When we got inside, a lot of girls thought the same thing, and Big Lex also made it seem on social media like she would be there hosting it and judging all the girls. But no, she had her security guards and others that worked on the event judging all the girls. And this was throughout most of the event. And mind you, there were a lot of girls giving the security and the guy who was hosting trouble, so they were already pretty much mad, upset, and kind of aggravated at most of the girls. There were a lot of girls, and some of them did give production and security a hard time. And this is reality TV, so backstage is very fast paced. When they tell you to do something, you kind of have to do it quick because it all goes into how quickly they can get the show to air and other things like that. So in that perspective, I can understand why security, the hosts, and others that were working on getting the girls through and out the door would be aggravated to some extent. Now, after I got on stage, did my thing and then got off, I ended up passing and they gave me a blue ticket and I headed back into this room. There were 3 rooms to choose from that you can go into. They were all filled with girls. I chose one and I went in there. So in these 3 rooms were all the girls that passed eliminations, basically. Now, here's the true tea on the situation with the water and the food. Were we given it? What happened? In the email, they said that we would basically be there from 10:30 a.m. to 11 p.m., I believe, basically past lunch and dinner. By the time me and all the girls that passed the eliminations got to the room, it was around lunchtime. It was like late in the afternoon. Some girls in the other room got Gatorade, some got water. Security later came to the room that I was in and put like a pack to half a pack of waters on the table that was in the room. And this wasn't 1 to 2 things of water, it was just 1 pack of waters on the table. And those got gone quick. I mean, there were a lot of girls that didn't even get any water. For food, they later came in and threw around a whole bunch of Nutri-Grain bars, and that was it. That was literally all we ate while there. And still, there were a lot of girls that didn't get the water, didn't get the Gatorades, didn't get the Nutri-Grain bars. And around this time, even though I drank all the water and ate that little Nutri-Grain bar, I was starting to feel sick from not eating. So I wasn't feeling good, but I wasn't ready to go home, so I still stayed and waited for what was next. We all waited in the rooms for some time until we were called. So when they called us, I thought we were about to start the Olympic Games. Nope. Instead, they made us line up where we were for the twerking competition, and there was this girl that was holding this stack of pink cards, and what she was doing was she was going around picking the ones that she chose were going to make it to the official Olympics. Her and the male hostess that was hosting the twerk competition. I'm gonna also mention that before the twerking competition, I changed my clothes into something, my body could move a little bit more in, but it wasn't for something that I could step outside in because it wasn't that appropriate. There were other girls too that changed into something similar to what I was wearing. They were just wearing very skimpy stuff, basically. Me, along with other girls, were asking security when they came in if we needed to change our clothes for the next game, and they basically told us, no, you don't have to worry about it, you don't have to change, everything's fine. So really, I sat backstage tired from everything and didn't change. I was kind of wearing like mismatched stuff. So there were some girls, including myself, who didn't change because the security told us there was nothing to worry about. We were fine wearing what we were wearing. So I thought, okay, cool, let me just chill. So by the time we're all standing in the hallway lined up and the girl is handing out these pink tickets, I'm standing here still in the same outfit I was when we were doing the twerking competition. I have on my like thigh-high socks. I didn't know what to change into, and I'm standing there wondering, what the hell is going on. And when I see her handing out all these pink tickets, she hands them all out until it gets down to me and a few other girls, and they basically tell us, get your stuff and get out the door, leave, like right now. We apparently had to leave quick because they had to bring out the next group of girls in the room in order to eliminate and hand out tickets. So I was freaking out because they were yelling at me and the other girls who didn't get picked to get out. Like I said before, I wasn't dressed properly, so when I grabbed my clothes, I told them, I was like, please, I asked them, I was like, please, can I change, because I'm not gonna go outside looking like this, I need to change. And one of the security girls were yelling at me, and she told me to go behind like these little bars. Like there were these bars and behind it was like a bunch of equipment, and she was like pushing me and she was like, go, hurry up, change, hurry up, and then get out. And I was like so mad, I wanted to like hit her in her face, but I was just like, bro, I'm just trying to hurry up and change and get out. So while I was getting dressed, the other girls that got eliminated with me were over there asking them and begging them to basically give them another chance. And while I was getting dressed, I thought, you know what, F this, I'm gonna do the same thing, because I did not come all the way out here and spend all this money just to get turned around and go home with nothing from this. So they basically told me and the other few girls that were left from elimination to line back up, and they brought the new set of girls in. They ended up giving all those other girls tickets, and maybe one or two of the girls that got eliminated with me tickets. And then they basically told me that I was eliminated along with a few other girls. So at this point, I was embarrassed, I was pissed, I was done. I was like, okay, F this, F y'all, I'm gone. So I headed outside, and basically outside was a mess from the beginning of eliminations. Girls were outside mad, pissed, still trying to get in. It was just a whole mess. There were even a few girls crying, and I understood it because there were girls who flew out from all types of long distances that came there just to get eliminated immediately and turned around. There were girls that spent so much money to come out there, and the only way that you can get back in the event was to pay $100, which was for VIP to watch the concert there. And the VIP was for general admission too. There were no other cheaper options. You had to pay $100 just to get in there and to meet Big Lex, who, by the way, didn't get there until later, like at 8 p.m. or something like that. The whole time she was at home getting her hair, makeup, nails done. But even then, she claimed she was still watching the show. But at that point, it didn't even matter. Like, you should be at your own event. But anyways, after I left, I was in the parking lot, and some girls came up to me and were asking me, what happened, things like that. And so I told them what happened, and here's a little footage of what was going on outside after the girls got eliminated and me myself.
Fuck what you talking about? I'm about to sweat myself without right here on my motherfucking teeth. And you ain't gonna disrespect me either, like I said. Fuck wrong with you? Y'all got me fucked up. I'm from Baltimore, bitch, and I added this bitch out. Tease it all. Bitch. Fuck wrong with y'all, man? Send me a left right here, man. Send me a left, man. Cause I'm about to, I'm adding everybody off this bitch.
So as you can see, there were a lot of girls that were very upset, including myself. So while I was sitting on the curb telling some of the girls my story, there was a girl that ran over to us from the front yelling out, "Oh, they're giving out pink tickets, they're giving out pink tickets." And those were the pink tickets that they didn't give me. So basically that's how I got eliminated. So while I was there, I was like, you know what, I'm still gonna try and go and see if I could get one of those pink tickets. So I ran over there, and there weren't a whole lot of girls over there. It was maybe like 7 girls at the most. The woman gave like tickets to a few of the other girls, and then it came down to like me and 4 other girls. I'm telling you, this situation felt like something out of a movie, because she was trying to figure out which girl came the longest distance, and the girl that came from the longest distance to Atlanta basically got the last ticket along with like some others. And then she had 1 ticket left, and I was standing there. I was like, do I want to just turn around? Do I want to go home? I wasn't speaking. I wasn't pleading my case, while the other girls were like, please give me the ticket. And then I don't know how, but she just turned, looked at me, and gave me the ticket. And next thing I know, I was back in the building. So at this point, y'all already know how I'm feeling. I'm like, oh my God, this is a sign. This means I was meant to be here. That means like I can really make it to the end. So when I got back in the building, I looked at her and I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. And she was like, oh, no problem, you're welcome. And then I went to the back room and just waited for the next game, basically the same room that I was in with all those girls. So because if you did buy the Olympics on the website that they were selling it, you could watch the Olympics live. There were girls in the back room that were watching the Olympics live, and the game that they were doing, which was the first official Olympics game, was Simon Says. I didn't pay to watch the Olympics, so I wasn't watching the Olympics backstage, but I know other girls were. And I'm not sure what happened during Simon Says, but the guy doing the Simon Says basically told one of the girls to show her ass or show her breasts, basically, something like that. And the girls, everyone was backstage going like, oh my God, this is not what I signed up for, what is going on? And I was very confused, and I was just back there thinking like, okay, if I get out there and he asks me to do something like that, I'm going to go right the F home. What pissed me off about this was not only was he telling girls to do inappropriate things there, not all, but some of them, but it's the fact that Big Lex said in her live that you need to tell your family members and your friends and your fans, all those people, to go vote for you, because that's how you're gonna win the 5K. Well, there were people's mothers watching, there were people's dads watching, grandmothers, uncles, family members watching this inappropriate mess. So she made the event seem like it was family friendly. The whole time it really wasn't. So we're waiting in the back room, and they finally call my group of girls up, and we wait in a line backstage to wait to go out to do Simon Says. So basically we're out on the floor about to do Simon Says. There's like maybe 5 girls ahead of me. Some get eliminated, some pass, and then it gets to me. I passed the round, and me and the girls that did pass, we all went back to the room. So at this point, we're all in the back room waiting for the next game. I'm starting to feel nauseated because I still haven't eaten. My legs hurt from standing outside. Up until this point, like, it was just going downhill for me from there. So they finally get us, and they tell us to line up at the door where we were before we headed out to the stage to play Simon Says. And I see that girls are gathered around, and it's like they're in this roast session, which was the next game apparently. So we were thinking, okay, we all have to go out and roast each other, basically, was the next game. Y'all obviously couldn't see, but we were at this door in the way back that had a window where you could see everything that was going down. So all of this that you're seeing right now, we were watching live from backstage, the next group of girls that were supposed to go out. So one of the things everybody was talking about was this fight that happened between these 2 girls. I remember when I was back there watching it, there were girls climbing on top of me trying to watch and see what happened. They dragged both of the girls backstage in order to basically kick them out. I guess they got eliminated after fighting, and I just remember them talking shit as they were being dragged past me. So the whole time we were waiting to go out for basically our round of roasting each other, I was feeling extremely sick. Like, I literally thought that I was gonna throw up right there. Like, I was really debating on going home. I didn't know like what to do. Like, I hadn't eaten, they didn't have food for us, I needed to eat, my head was hurting. I asked around for Tylenol, no one had nothing. And to top off my headache, there was a security guard standing by the door who was supposed to keep us from going through or to make sure everything was running smoothly, he got in an argument with one of the girls that were behind me in line. The security guy brought up the fat guy that you see in the video, saying if you guys didn't know who he was, you would have walked straight past him. And the girl behind me said, I saw who you were and I walked straight past you. And so the security guy got in his feelings and started talking about how he makes more money than the girl, and everyone here saying he makes 6 figures. He was talking about we were hoes and thoughts for being at this hoe event. He was talking bad about Big Lex, saying she was a hoe, she was a thought. He didn't even know who she was. And I'm sitting here, I didn't want to get in an argument because I wasn't feeling good. But what I wanted to say was, if I didn't want to get in an argument, sir, you got hired here to be a security guard. I know you weren't getting paid that much, being that Big Lex had to pay off all the celebrities she hired for the little ratchet event she had. So I would have just shut up if I were him. That little 6-figure story is not adding up. And he wasn't the only one just talking bad about the girls in Big Lex. There were other security guards and other people that worked there talking bad not only about the girls, but Big Lex herself. Because he was arguing too much with the girl behind me, they did move him to another spot. That's when a security guard came and told us we had to put our heels on. I immediately assumed we weren't doing the roasting challenge. Instead, we were going to be doing the next challenge, which was this catwalk challenge. All of us went back to the rooms. Girls went and got their heels. Meanwhile, I got my stuff and decided to leave. I'm telling you, I was not feeling good at all. I had a headache, sick to my stomach, my feet, legs, everything hurt. I was not about to go and catwalk and have something happen to me while I was on stage, so I just completely left. Okay, now that I finally finished my side of the story and how things went, I can finally get on to the other things. I'm going to talk about how Big Lex responded to this whole event, and I'm also going to talk about how I feel about the event overall at the end. So even though I told my side of the story, I definitely want to talk about how the rest of the event went after I left. So I did some research and I found out that Big Lex didn't show up to the event until like late at night, like 8 p.m. And my guess is she wanted to be there when all the bigger girls got there for the concert. Meaning she wanted to pop out only when Asian Doll came out and Suki Hana and the other girl that performed. I just think it's very rude and disrespectful that for one, she couldn't be there early to host her own event. If she was there, she could have fixed a lot of BS that went on before the show aired and also during. And a lot of girls not only came out there to win the 5K prize, but also they came out there to network and meet Big Lex, who said she was going to be there to meet all the girls and also go out to the club after and spend bottles and bottles at the club with the girls. So remember how I said security and also the male host were really running things and running how the games went? Well, Big Lex had some of the season 1 girls there at the Olympics, and they kind of just gave them mics and they kind of started running the show, and they started doing things and asking the girls to do things that I believe were not a part of the Olympic Games. This was one of them.
I'm about to do a pussy check. A pussy. Oh, wait. I'm going around to a pussy check. I just want to shout out my pussy check. We don't want to see no hair. I want all you hoes to open that pussy. No hair. Lift it up. All right. You good. Uncle, we need everybody to quiet. Okay, you had no hygiene kit with you. Uncle. Okay, bitch, you
One of the girls were literally going around sniffing girls down in their private area, all in their butt, everything. Like, it was a whole mess. And in my opinion, I don't think that was part of the Olympic Games. I think that's just something they randomly started doing, but I would not put it past Big Lex or any of the people there if that was really a part of the games. And again, this all happened at an event that Big Lex made seem like it was family friendly. Again, you had people's families watching this. And I wanted to clear up what I said when I said the twerking wasn't a part of the show. It was a part of the show, it just wasn't a part of the Olympic Games. It was just part of eliminations, basically. I want to touch on the the networking opportunities that Big Lex pressed were going to be there. So if you had a social media or things that you could bring to promote your business or whatever you do, you could bring them there and promote them to the girls there. They also had a separate line for you to stand in if you wanted to be interviewed. But before I talk about that, I want to talk about this footage right here. So there was a guy going around with a camera basically asking girls to shout out their social media and to basically put themselves on. So he was telling girls to do this, and I hear it and I'm thinking, okay, this is a networking opportunity, right? Well, just listen to the footage.
Two things I gotta let y'all know. I got over 100 girls, so there's another cut down. With that being said, y'all see how they acting out there? Don't act like that.
We leaving the losers outside.
Throughout the whole beginning of this footage until the countdown went down to 0 to going live, the audio was blacked out, so you couldn't hear what any of the girls were saying. So they basically finessed all the girls out of a networking opportunity. This was going to be shown to a lot of people, and being there and being told to shout out your social media and to put yourself on, and after hearing what Big Lex said about there's going to be a lot of networking opportunities, it just didn't make sense why they would do this. And like I said, they did have a separate line for the girls that did want to be interviewed, but the guy who said that the interviews were going to be on his Instagram, I looked up his Instagram and he had like 2K followers, and also none of the interviews were on his Instagram page like he said they would be. So again, they finessed us out another networking opportunity. I did see some other interviews being done later in the day, but I have no idea if they got posted anywhere. So if they did, someone could let me know in the comments. I did go back and watch the show, and honestly, seeing how Big Lex showed up and how she was acting was kind of embarrassing, because at one point it seemed like she was genuinely confused over how some of the girls got eliminated and stuff like that. And the whole time I was thinking, exactly, like, that's why you should have been there. Like, it really looked like she popped up and didn't know what the hell was going on.
I'm trying to figure out how these girls got eliminated. How y'all get eliminated? How did they get eliminated? How did y'all get eliminated, y'all?
And you see how quiet the security is, and no one's saying anything, and all you can hear is the girls in the background going off. Like, and Big Lex, like, how are you so confused over how the girls got eliminated? Because you hired people that didn't know how to do their job, and that's what happens. Even more reason why you should have been there. During her live before the Olympics, she did say that after the show, she was going to go to the club and she was inviting all the girls that came out to the club with her, where she would be popping bottles and just basically getting lit and getting a chance to meet all the girls. Now, I was over here thinking, well, how is she gonna do that when they posted saying there were over 100 girls that would be participating in the Olympics? Well, obviously she's not gonna bring over 100 girls to a club with her, so that's why they had all the eliminations too. It would have got rid of that. I did hear a lot of girls asking about the after party, which was the club that Big Lex was supposedly going to be going to, but apparently that night she never went to the club. None of the girls saw her after the Olympics event. Now, the last thing I'm gonna say before I move on to what Big Lex had to say about the event, everyone thought, or like pretty much got the gist or the vibe, that the winner was going to be announced at the Olympics. The winner was never announced at the Olympics. You had friends, family members, everyone watching live thinking they could vote online. You had people in the comments on the live broadcast asking, where can we vote? They were confused. They didn't know what to do, where they should vote. I was confused. Other girls were confused while we were there at the Olympics. We thought the winner was going to be picked at the Olympics, all for it to end and have no winner announced. And being how unprofessional and unorganized the event was, I wasn't even sure there was going to be a winner announced. Then a few days or so after the event, Big Lex got on live and said this about picking a winner.
We're gonna do the Olympics, girls, and I'm gonna let y'all do a vote, and there's gonna be a poll. Y'all can vote for your favorite baddie. That's cool. I'll let y'all do that that way, so it will continue to be fair. It will continue to be an honest competition. But
not only was this news not announced prior to the event, but it was very random and unorganized. Instead of people voting live when it would have been easier or something like that, she decided to run a poll and have people go through an extra step just to pick their winner for the 5K. Now let's talk about the rest of the stuff she had to say about the event and how girls were complaining about it. I'll only be putting some of the crucial parts of the live in here, also while pausing it and saying what I have to say about it.
at Baddies Collection, you had an opportunity to say no, you didn't want to do it, and it's cool. The girls who felt disrespected, or the girls who felt violated by anything that goes on, okay? That went on at the Baddies Collection, you had an opportunity to say no, you didn't want to do it, and it's cool. If you didn't want to do it, at a certain point in the Olympics, you was like, oh, well, we gotta do. They was on a little pole, you know, and doing a little fight thing. Okay, girl said, I don't want to do that part. Okay, cool. Chill out. Watch the other girls. Watch the concert.
So she was talking about the girls that got violated and felt uncomfortable or didn't want to do what was there. This happened to one of the girls back in one of the rooms that they put us in. Apparently one of the security guards stole the stuff she was smoking, and this is how they handled her. Big Lex said if you didn't like the games, or if you didn't like how the security was treating you, you didn't have to play the games, and you didn't have to be treated by security like that if you didn't want to. But really, all I heard was if you didn't like it, you could have left. Or, in her case, you could have stayed and watched the concert. But if you were actually there, you would have known that wasn't the case. Security was doing things how they wanted to do it, and they were throwing every girl out that didn't want to comply with what they said you had to do.
And like I said, y'all keep saying, oh, I haven't touched on things about the people who were there. Like I said, if I hire, listen to me clearly. If I hire you for a job, if you are security, if you are the production team, if you are the cameraman, if you are the water boy, if you are a bitch on the mic, okay? If I hire you to do a job and you told me that you were going to do that job correctly, I expect you to do that job correctly. However people handle their business or however people approach other situations, that's them. That's their team. That's how they work. That's not Big Lex. That's not my team. That's not how I work. Just how I expect people to come do their job appropriately, I expected y'all to come and be some bad bitches and not do the fucking most.
Again, what she's saying to me is very unprofessional, because whether or not you expect people to handle themselves accordingly, which is something everyone should do, you should also be there to make sure they're doing their job correctly, especially if it's your event. Now, I don't know the full situation on who she hired, but it seemed like she hired teams who had people in charge of their own team doing things, so it makes sense how things could get miscommunicated and lost in translation, but still you should have been on top of your own event and making sure everything was being handled accordingly on your end. Blaming other people for how your event went doesn't sound like some boss or bad bitch moves anyway.
And then that's a good point that y'all keep making. Y'all keep saying, oh, Big Lex, you wasn't there for the first beginning. You wasn't there for the first beginning. But I was subscribed and I was watching everything that was going on. And, you know, first let's start there. I'm watching the show. But y'all talking shit about me like I'm there doing the shit. I had the Baddies Olympics. I make sure everything's situated. I try to give all the girls the opportunity, try to be fair to all the girls, you know, and then for the girls to get upset, or for certain people to get mad, or for people who don't know how to handle their business, you know, to get all crazy and get all irate and then want to blame me? Like, I don't get it. That's like me bringing you on my show and you like, oh, you coming to fight me. Bitch, never.
So I can't speak for the girls she's talking about, the ones that were apparently fighting and trashing the place and then talking shit. I don't know nothing about that, but what I do know was a lot of girls were mad over what happened, including myself, and we had every right to be. Nobody was getting on her like she was dictating anything. It was her event. Her name was in big letters over everything. It was all over this event. So if something did go wrong, which it did, of course everyone's going to blame you. It's your event. And Big Lex isn't the only one to blame. It was definitely the fault of security and some of the others that worked there. But overall, this was her event that she organized. But because she was at her Airbnb, her place, wherever she was, watching the event live, part of me did think she didn't really care what was going on and that she approved of it because she pretty much just watched everything go like how it went. Bottom line, the least she could have done was hold some type of accountability for her own actions and her lack of control when it came to the event. But she really just went on a rant saying how she blames the girls that attended and the girls that made the place a mess, and basically said she had nothing to do with how security acted. My final thoughts on this should have been organized way better, but I really don't think I needed to say that. It's pretty obvious. Aside from the girls trashing the place and fighting, the event was very disorganized. They should have updated us on the COVID situation and other things that were going on or that needed to be known. Like, what about the girls that showed up in their workout outfits when Big Lex clearly said you could show up in them, but then when you got to the event, they told you had to change and there was nowhere to change but outside? And then what about the food situation? If you planned on having girls there from morning to night, you needed to have more than water bottles, Gatorade, and health bars for everyone. You couldn't even bring your own food and drinks in, so they basically wanted you to starve to death. But now that I think about it, maybe that was part of the eliminations too. But you know what? You rush an event like this and things like this happen. It goes downhill quick. It is what it is. And that's my full tea and my story time on what really happened at the Baddie Olympics. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have something to add and you were there, please feel free to comment below. Thank you for watching. Till next time, guys.